What's up, y'all? Roy here, and you are listening to the Clemens with a Z podcast. Got another episode here in the we were in a cult series, and this conversation went a little deeper. 'Cause this conversation wasn't just about someone finding their way into a system. It's about what happens when you never had to find it at all. About what happens when you're born into it, when the language, the structure, the expectations aren't something you choose; they are just what is. So, in this episode, I sat down with Sara and Lauren, two sisters who were both raised in the ICOC. Same home, same environment, same system. But what's really interesting about this is how differently that experience can still land, even when it's shared. And you'll hear it almost immediately when we start talking about the word sisters and how there's this layered moment, right? Because on one level, they are physical sisters. But inside the church, that word carried a whole other meaning too. It meant something structured, defined, and expected. And even now, you can feel how the language still lingers. It's kind of the thread that runs through this whole conversation. We talk about family, we talk about generational faith, we talk about what it means when belief isn't just something you adopt, it's something that you inherit. And maybe more importantly, what it takes to begin questioning something that was never presented as optional. There's honesty in this one, some humor, and some heaviness. And a lot of moments where you can feel just how complex all of this is. To untangle something that shaped not just your belief, but your relationships as well. So, wherever you're coming from, whether you were in it, around it, or just trying to understand it, I think this one's going to give you something real to sit with. So, let's get into it. Okay, we are live. Hello, Sara and Lauren.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm excited to be here with y'all, to have some sisters on. Really glad this is all working out.
Sisters in the
Uh,
real sense.
yeah,
Gotta be careful with
not,
that word.
I know,
Yes, we
not
were
sis-
sisters and sisters. Yeah.
That's right. For better or for worse.
that word still triggers. Um, well,
There's a
let's just
lot of
jump.
triggering words.
Yeah, let's just jump right into it. How did y'all get involved with the ICOC? Whoever wants to go first, go first.
Go, Lauren. You were here
I was gonna
first.
I was gonna say I should probably start since I'm the oldest because I was there first. So our parents were converted in Gainesville at Crossroads under Kip McKean and Chuck Lucas and those
Hmm.
famous founding fathers.
Hmm.
And my mom was um, reached out to by somebody that she was carpooling with in the 70s. I was two, and she studied the Bible and became a Christian. And then my dad studied um, the Bible with her husband, and he eventually was baptized, I think about 6 or 9 months after that, after my mom.
Hmm.
And then then they pretty quickly got into leadership and were very, very active. And so um, the Crossroads Church was all I knew from the time that I have any memories of church at all. So
Hmm.
that was even before there were Kingdom Kids.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
and then
The
Sarah was,
OGs. We're the
yeah,
OGs,
Yep.
OGs.
Yep. Hmm.
yeah. So yeah, so I would say, I was part of the church since I was two and just brought up and all the things, Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday nights, Monday night, Friday night, like it was what we did. And then Sarah was born into it 8 years later in Florida, actually. And then my parents moved us. They were um asked to go to Oklahoma from Florida to help reform a mainline church of Christ there that wanted to be a little bit more um
Progressive.
yeah, thank
Hmm.
you. Yeah. And so my dad and a handful of other men and their families were moved to Tulsa, Oklahoma, and Sarah was 9 months old, and my mom schlepped this brand new baby all these states across to
Hmm.
help this church get more committed,
Hmm.
recommitted. So
Yeah. Wow. So do you remember much of the Gainesville church?
I do. I went to preschool there. They called it my
Hmm.
school.
Hmm.
Um, and I remember um, there was this brother there in the church, and old, I think he was maybe an elder. I'm not going
Hmm.
to say his name, but I had a nickname for him. And he and I actually called him, well, I can't say his name. So, anyways, I had a nickname for him. And yeah, so I have vivid memories of hanging out with him as a small girl. And then there was his wife or somebody else in the church would pull my teeth. And so even if I had
Uh,
loose teeth, I always waited till we were at church so that this sister could Martha could pull my teeth. And I would always just like my mom would be like, "Your tooth is falling out." I was like, "No, she has to pull my tooth." Like it was just this thing.
hmm.
So she was like my safe space. So yeah, I went to preschool at the church. I went to daycare at the church.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, that was my whole upbringing. My whole world was that environment.
Hmm. So there was no real before the ICOC for y'all. Um, well, how did y'all view God in the beginning as kids? What was when I say that, what came to mind when you think about that as a kid?
Yeah, I think for me, I feel like he was just always like a presence and not
Hmm.
like a positive or negative. It was just God was always in the equation because that was
Hmm.
just like who we were. That was our identity, was we were religious, right? Like anybody else would
Yeah.
have looked at our family and been like, they're very religious. But I also
Hmm.
think because we were living in Oklahoma, which is like right in that Bible Belt, and we only really associated with people in the church, everyone we knew was religious. Like that was just like the thing. So God was very commonplace. It was not like a weird thing to pray before every meal. Even all my friends prayed before every meal. It was not a weird thing to be at church every Sunday and Wednesday and a youth group thing and a Monday thing. And like that was
Hmm.
just what everybody did. I think for me, until we moved to Chicago, that's when I think I really understood the difference. But um, I think God for me was always a little scary. Like he was always watching, he always knew everything. He was like the negative Santa Claus, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Like it was
Hmm.
like keeping track of all of your wrongs and waiting for you to repent. I think it's weird that a kid in like second grade knows what the word repent means and like is expected to do it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think I had kind of a negative connotation of who God was to the world. I mean,
Yeah.
I think we always heard God loved us, but like his love was kind of a God is a jealous God, right? Like he is not going to put up with any of your shenanigans. And I was full of
Yeah.
shenanigans. So,
Yeah, you were definitely more shenanigan-y than I was. I would say, and I think I relate to what Sarah said about God. I think I also had this more like father time. I mean, I definitely felt like there was a fear of God for sure. Um, but I also remember feeling like he was watching out for us too. So I think it was a
Hmm.
little bit of both. Like he was this loving being, but also don't make him mad, and you've got to do what he wants you to do, or you're
Hmm.
going to be in trouble and you're going to go to hell. I
Yeah.
remember in third grade, there was a special needs girl in my school, and all the kids would make fun of her. And so I started to bully her too, because that's what everybody was doing. And my mom, I think I even told my mom, like, oh, we're making fun of Tammy at school. And she was like, that God is unhappy with you. That is wrong. You don't do that, which was true. You don't bully
Yeah. Yeah.
people. But it became a God thing. And then I started to get bullied. And my mom was like, well, you want to heap burning coals. That was the scripture she used. Heap burning coals on their head. Like you overcome evil with good. But to this day, like she and I actually have an inside joke now, because if somebody's being mean, kind of like, that rise above, mom would always say, you heap burning coals. And so now that's
Hmm.
like our inside joke is heap burning coals. Just so even in third grade, I had those scriptures like branded in my brain about how to interact with kids at a very, very young age.
Yeah, I know that I think Lauren, you mentioned to me earlier about how your parents had everything to do with your view of God. Can you
I think
kind
that's
of
both of us.
both of
Yeah.
y'all? Um, I always want to bring that up because I think it's a thread that all of us talk about how our parents or our authority figures in our lives really sort of dictate how we view God. Y'all would agree with that?
Yes, very
Hmm.
much so.
Hmm.
But, and I think God was like a convenient way for them to discipline us. Like,
Hmm.
Mm,
it was the the healthy fear of the parent was replaced with a real fear of God, right? And so
Yeah.
like we were
Hmm.
more afraid of like what the consequence would be for us and for our eternity than I think we were anything else. Like it was more about that fear, at least for me,
yeah.
than it was about the grace of God and the love of God. I don't think I even understood that. And maybe still don't even fully understand the grace of God. Truthfully, it is definitely much more about the fear of God. And
Hmm.
that was given to us by our parents 100%, which was given to them by the church, right? And it was
Hmm.
like, don't spare the rod, right? Like everything was based on some kind of biblical, this is
Yeah.
why we're disciplining you the way that we are. This is why, because the Bible says, this elder says. So everything was tied to God. Every decision, we're going to go on this place for vacation. We don't have the money to do this. Christmas morning, you're going to pick a present that you just got and you're going to take it to church and give it to somebody more needy than you because that's what God wants you to do. Like I'm not kidding. That was like real life every
Wow.
year.
But what we didn't take it to church, we took it to somebody's house that
Oh,
dad
that's right.
knew.
That's right. And we would like
Yeah,
drop it
dad
off to
knew
somebody who
through
was
his job.
more,
Yeah.
yeah. And it was like pick your favorite present and give that to somebody else, which it's not a
Wow.
horrible thing, but also like when you're 7, like that's
Yeah.
really hard. And if you struggled with it, you weren't being a good Christian. You didn't understand God's love. Like it was every single thing was tied back to God.
And you, wow. Like I'm thinking about just trying to process that as a child. Like
Yeah.
I have to take something that I want and give it. And we could talk about the lesson, but like, wow, they didn't just like wrap up something and say y'all are going to give it. Y'all had to choose one of your presents.
Yes.
Wow.
And ideally your favorite present.
Oh man, I would lie. I probably would have lied and tried to guess
I
the one
mean, there is
the
a
un
reason that I'm a very good liar.
I,
Yeah.
we can get into that too. I think so as you're talking about this, it's like it feels like God was also almost like a weight on you.
Hmm.
You
Yeah.
think?
Uh, it was just always a presence. I think that's the
Hmm.
word that comes to mind. Like he was just never not a consideration in every single thing.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I don't think it felt heavy because we
Hmm.
didn't know any different. I
Yeah.
think
Sure.
now, as adults, being away from it, looking back, it's like, oh, holy Moses, how did we do all that? But
Hmm.
I think at the time, because that's all we knew, it didn't
Hmm.
feel heavy. I mean, eventually the ministry felt very, very heavy to me, and we can get to that point later. But I think at this age, we didn't know any different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all of our friends were doing that. I mean, maybe not the present thing. I don't feel like anybody else had to do that. But all of the other stuff, it was the exact same for them. So it did
Hmm.
feel very normal.
Yeah. I'm thinking about the present thing and I'm thinking about how my parents used to do. Sometimes I felt that we were doing more than the other people in the church. And I could never get past that. I always used to get so
Mm,
frustrated because there were people in our church that were doing like, no, we got to do stuff like this. We got to go serve this way and serve that way. And then I would watch all these other kids not doing it. I don't know if you had that experience, but it's just how different all of our experiences were in the
Yeah.
church, you know?
Yeah. Well, and I think I heard on a different episode, like your worth was determined by your like acts of service. And I think
Hmm.
yeah.
that was very much the feeling. I think our parents, and not to speak for them, but I think they very much felt like they were constantly proving their love of God and their commitment to God
Hmm.
through acts of
Yep.
sacrifice and service. And how can we make our kids act in sacrifice and service more than it was just about our love for God? And like, were we
Yeah.
good people? It was not
We
about
had to
being good
earn it.
people. It was about
Hmm.
being the very best sacrificer.
Yeah. That
Yeah,
kind of thing is
earning it.
celebrated. It's just celebrated so much in our
Yeah.
church, like how much you give, how much you serve, how much you're second, you
Yeah.
know?
I think,
What?
like, so here's a great example of that. Our dad, who passed away almost 3 years ago,
Hmm.
um, from Alzheimer's, one of the things he even still remembered, even when he had Alzheimer's, was that he sold a diamond out of a ring to give to special missions. And like, even what, probably 45 years later with Alzheimer's, that is something that he still clung to, is that like, well, remember, I sold the diamond out of this ring to give to special missions. And like that's wild. That's
Hmm.
wild. That of all of the things and all of the memories he didn't have, that was one of the memories that really defined who he felt like he was.
Yeah. My dad did the same thing. My dad was a music major in college and he sold a handmade bassoon that my grandparents had commissioned for him when he graduated high school to
Wow.
go into music school. And whenever I tell people, it never sounds like it's that expensive, but I mean, a bassoon is like $5,000, $6,000. And I remember him telling that, and he talked about it a lot. Um, I don't think it was that much in the front of his mind, but I can remember, but that's just a vivid memory for me. And I remember thinking, like, oh my God, as a kid being like, that feels not right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like the sentimental, right? Like even if
Yeah.
it were $100, it was a gift from his parents, right? Like there's sentimental value
Mhm.
there. But
Yeah.
yeah, well, he needed to be a good Christian, Roy.
Yep.
So
Yep. We
do what
all
you got to
did.
do, brother.
So, what was the positives in the beginning for being a part of this ICOC?
I I mean, I think like Sarah said, it was friends. Like we had a great social circle. And
Hmm.
when we moved to Oklahoma, I was 8, Sarah was 9 months, and I immediately had friends because they were all our church friends. I went to school with them.
Hmm.
So even though a huge transition like that could be daunting for any child, I think there was some security or benefit because I had that those people around me, and two of them I'm still in touch with to this day,
Hmm.
100 years later. And so I think that was it. And I also feel like there was a skill set in being others focused and learning how to interact with people and build relationships and communicate. So I think there's like life skills that were beneficial from that. The other thing I want to note is a couple of podcasts that I've listened to that on this series. Two of the women that you've talked to are both in therapy,
Therapy. Yeah.
Yeah.
and that's the same
Everybody
thing for
becomes a
Sarah.
therapist.
I was like, so far of the 4 people that you've talked to that I've listened to in this series, all 4 of us are have gone into becoming like master's level clinicians, like therapy. And I just thought there's got to be something to that too. So that's another thing for you to research, Roy. But yeah,
Unpack. Well,
yeah,
they
Yeah.
say you become a therapist to deal with your own issues, and we certainly have a plethora of issues. So,
Yeah. Yeah. So was it the same for you, Sarah? Positives in the beginning?
yeah, I mean, I think I was so young in Oklahoma that I feel like
Hmm.
it was about friendships. I think looking back as an adult, the positives for our family was that there was a network. Like you always
Hmm.
had somebody that you could rely
Hmm.
on. And I think as an adult not in the church, it's Like
Hmm.
you have that different expectation of like, well, if I need to move, of course, all the brothers are going to come over and help us move. If we've got a project, we're going to do this. And that's not how people outside of the church typically act. There is no like, I need this, 15 people come over, and that's the expectation that they're going to come unpaid, unfed, unbeard, and like come and help you move your house, right? Like that was a very church kind of thing. Or like the sisters are going to come over and bring meals. Like that was a
Hmm.
very churchy kind of thing that I don't think occurred to me was any different until I was an adult. And I was like, oh, wait a minute, like people don't just like do that for each other.
Right.
So I think there
Yeah.
was a lot of like support that we didn't recognize as support. It was just common. But I think in hindsight, that was a very good positive. You always could have somebody to rely on.
Hmm. What you're talking about has been in the forefront of my mind and my heart for the last couple of years. I think I've talked to my therapist about that for a while because the expectations of what a community is, what people are supposed to do,
Yeah.
is it's like warped my sense of people. Like I hold this standard
Yeah.
to everyone because of what we experienced in that sense of what a community is. And it's such a disconnect for me and my wife because she didn't grow up in this. And so what she sees is like, oh no, this is just people being people and it's great what we have. And I'm like looking at all the things people don't do and not as like, and it's not that these are bad people or that they should be doing anything. It's just it was just like not what it is. And
Yeah.
it skews my ability to see the good for the good. I
Mm.
That's
don't know
exactly right.
if y'all feel that as well. It was just but yeah, like anything happened in our life and there were
Yeah.
like a dozen people that would be there in a second.
Yes. Always.
Yeah.
Hmm.
One other positive that I think Sarah and I have talked about before, and a couple of my friends who are no longer part of the church that I'm still in communication with, is I think it also helps. Well, I'll just speak for myself. It helps me to also not shrink back from conflict, that
Hmm.
I am able to address something in like speaking the truth in love,
Hmm.
like to be able to be honest with somebody in a way that is hopefully constructive, but isn't damaging. So I don't shrink back. Like I'm able to deal with confrontation, which people have noticed. And I think that comes from being discipled and having discipled other
Hmm.
people, is you learn that skill of just putting it out there in a way that hopefully sits, maybe it's a little bit better than how it was being discipled before, like I've softened my approach.
Hmm.
But I think that is also something that I do give credit to my upbringing to be able to have that skill.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
It
I
teaches
think
you, oh, sorry.
no, I was just go ahead. Go ahead.
I think Lauren and I, especially because we are both in relationships with non-church folks, I think
Hmm.
it has really, we know how to have an argument. Like we know how to fight with our spouse. And I think
Hmm.
it highlights how our spouses don't know how to like share your feelings, use the I statements, right? Like all of the things that we learn in church conversation and like how
Uh,
to have those tough conversations. Other people, like, what, where would they learn that? And so I think that is definitely one of the positives, is to Lauren's point. We know how to have hard conversations and
mhm.
like sit with it, and that's okay.
It's funny because as y'all are saying, what y'all are talking about is something that I avoid so much. I think it's because I realize how much I overshare. You know, like I
We've
can
never
talk
been
to.
accused of that, Lauren
I
and
mean,
I. As ICOC and social workers, there's not any oversharing in our family.
I could talk about anything to anyone at any time, and
Yeah.
it's like it's sometimes I think it's good, but I also notice how when people's eyes get a little big and it glazes over, they're just like, "Whoa, we're just getting right to it, aren't we?"
Let's get into it. Let's talk
Yeah,
about all your deep feelings.
I know. I
Let's have
want to
it
talk
out.
so much. Just- So you're moving through this is you're in the church. It's great. I want to move into middle school. And like, because that's the time when, studying the Bible is important. What was it about this that made you want to be like, I want to study the Bible. I want to be a disciple.
You get a choice. When you turn
Right.
13, you get baptized. So
Really?
that's how it was
Okay.
for us. And again, my situation is a little bit different because we were in the tweener, right? We were
Hmm.
at least for me, I was crossroads, then mainline, trying to be crossroads, then a little bit more mainline before we really went into ICOC. So
Hmm.
I was kind of in that gray area.
Hmm.
So when you turn 13, that's your rite of passage. That's just what you do at that age. So most people at my age just were like, we're getting baptized today. My parents at least had enough, I think, from their experience at Crossroads to say, you need to read some Bible before you're baptized. So they had me study Romans 15, maybe. I don't even know. Again, it was 100 years ago, but they had me go through and read scripture and have conversations with the two of them. So I didn't do like the traditional Bible study series like we
Hmm.
eventually got to, but enough where I feel like my parents were like, okay, she understands what she's doing. And so then I was baptized at 13. Then when we eventually moved to Chicago, um, I, I restudied the Bible and was rebaptized at 17. And Sarah's
Both of y'all got baptized twice. Am I correct in that?
Yes. But I
well,
was because I fell away.
I
Oh,
was
okay.
3 times because I was sprinkled as a baby in the Methodist church. So
You are
that's how,
more
Jeez.
yeah.
holy than the rest of us. Thank goodness. The saving grace of the family.
You need someone in the family that's holy.
I mean, definitely was not me.
Leave it
Yeah.
to the oldest.
That's exactly right. Definitely not the youngest. Um, for me, I think I studied the Bible, one, because that's like what you did. It was just like the
Hmm.
expectation. Two, I think because we moved to Chicago when I was in fourth grade, it was super tumultuous time for me because friendships have already been established. The
Hmm.
girls in my school had known each other since kindergarten. It was very hard to break in. And here I was, this like hick from Oklahoma coming to this Chicago suburb, and people were like, you talk funny. I'm not sure about you. What are these clothes? Um, and it was hard for me to like find a steady friend group, probably even truthfully until like my junior year of high school, which is
Hmm.
not to say I didn't have friends. I was definitely in the world doing my thing, but it wasn't like there was no security blanket like there was in Oklahoma. And so
Yeah.
I think the church gave me a lot of that security because we were very popular in the church. Like I had all the friends in church. And so to maintain that status, getting baptized was like the thing that you did.
Hmm.
And I wanted to do the cool things. I wanted to go on the trips. I wanted to like, be part of the inner circle in church. And you couldn't do that if you weren't baptized. So I think that's probably why I did it. There was definitely not this like intrinsic it's time for me, like my love of God is so great, this is what I need to do. It was definitely more about status.
Yeah. I get the status part. I get the inclusion part. 100%. My family moved at a formidable year too. We moved the middle of my fifth grade year, and it was the same thing. It was like everyone that in this, it was the middle of the fifth grade year. All of these kids had been there since kindergarten, and it wasn't a school where a lot of kids from our church were at. So
Yeah, it's tough. It's a
it is.
really tough time
Mm-hmm.
to move. Our other sister was a freshman in high school,
Mm,
and moving at that age, I think was it just I think the crazy thing is that our parents knew that it was going to be a really hard time for us to move because our dad was a teacher and our mom was a school counselor. Like they
mm-hmm.
knew things, right? Like they knew about childhood development, but it was God over everything else, church over everything else. And so they
Mm-hmm.
just, and the craziness, and I don't think I'm outing them here. We've talked to our mom, like it's okay that we're sharing this. Like they had to file for bankruptcy in Oklahoma in order to get rid of like some of the rental properties that the church had encouraged them to buy so that they could have extra income to give to the church. they couldn't sell them because the market wasn't good or whatever. And so they had to file bankruptcy, which for our parents was a huge blow to their ego and the heat that they took from their parents and the rest of our extended family for making these choices to move us out of our home into a condo because that's all we could get approved for is this
Hmm.
tiny condo so that we could be where there's a bigger church. Like they made all of this sacrifice, probably to the detriment of a lot of things, like a lot of downstream impacts, so that we could move. And like there was just this like domino effect, right, from all of these choices of everything they were being asked to do. Um, so all of that to say, it was just a really tough time for us to move. Luckily, our other sister was super cute and was a cheerleader, so she excelled. But I struggled. I really struggled.
I think it's a good, I mean, and honestly, Sarah, what you just said kind of just resonated with me because I hadn't even really thought about the impact of those decisions for our parents and the relationship with the extended family. So I don't know if it's important to say or not, Roy. You can edit out if you don't think so, but I think it was, like we didn't have a relationship with our dad's side of the family because of the church,
Yeah.
because dad had made all of these decisions and sacrifices for God, quote
Hmm.
unquote, and the church. So he essentially was excommunicated from his family. And now, since we've left, we've kind of started to mend those fences. But even still to this day, the relationship that we have with that side of the family is not close. And my mom's side was better, but it wasn't great. And so I think even for us to have missed that, like relationship with cousins and aunts and
Hmm.
uncles on either side of the family, and even grandparents, um, because of our parents' full dedication to the church, we missed out on those relationships.
Yeah, I feel the exact same way. I think it's wild you bring this up, and it's just something that I've thought about a lot because it was around the time when my dad passed that it was about 6 years ago when I started to see the effects of their decision on being a part of this church with regards to the family. It's the same thing you were saying. There wasn't an excommunication per se, but there definitely was this disconnect and this distance from the family because of the church. I mean, there are things like we would always have to leave by Saturday to get back to Atlanta for church. And it was hard. I could see that it was hard for my relatives. I remember when some of my relatives came to our church, they didn't like it because they were part of the mainline Church of Christ. But just the amount of time and energy that my parents gave to it, and we just had no relate. There was very little relationships with either side of the family. Um, it's hard.
Mhm.
It's a hard
Yeah.
thing. It's like the church was our family, not our family.
And had to be. That was
Had
the
to be.
expectation. They come first, everybody
Hmm.
else second. And I think
Yeah.
our families, our extended families, definitely felt that way. Even after our dad's passing, our aunts said as
Hmm.
much, like it was the church. We just
Yeah.
couldn't relate to your dad anymore.
Hmm. It's tough. It's tough being an adult and seeing like other people with relationships with their extended family, and you're just like, I wish it could have been a little different. I mean, it is
Yeah,
what it is. Moving on, but still, it's hard. It's a hard thing, and then with stuff like when a system like this comes in and it just like cornered you from the rest of
Yeah.
your family. Yeah.
100%.
So, Lauren, did you have the studies, or were you said your parents just had you read?
So yeah, so for my second baptism at 13, they just had me read scriptures.
Hmm.
For my third and final baptism so far, just
Yeah.
kidding. At 17, I did go through the studies. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, they weren't as refined
Okay.
probably as they were when I was conducting them with other people, but they were essentially the same.
Did you
Like
do
the
the
cross
studies too?
study. Yeah.
Yeah, did you do the same ones, Sarah? Like the ones that I did?
Yes, yes, and
Okay.
got my Bible with my name in gold foil when I got baptized. That was like the thing. Mine was purple leather. So,
I didn't get one.
Oh,
oh, your parents clearly weren't as religious as our parents then. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I think about that a lot. The guys, some of the brothers that were studying with me bought me a study Bible, but it was like a card, the cardboard cover one.
oh,
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
weird that I think about that and I still get frustrated. Like that's something that I was like thinking about even yesterday. Like I wanted that leather Bible with my name on it.
yeah. I'll
well,
send you
maybe
mine.
your
I have a
wife can get
couple.
you one.
Okay, sweet.
You can just
But
scratch out my name. It's fine.
y'all, so you did all the appropriate crying when you were supposed to, showed your
Oh,
brokenness, all of that.
Of course.
Yeah.
Make your sin list. I feel like I should have kept that sin list because I feel like looking back on it, I probably would have been like, I was an angel. Like, what in the world?
Yeah,
This be for my sins?
I
Yeah.
do you
burned
feel,
mine a few years
Sarah, were
ago.
you, oh, sorry,
No,
sorry.
I was just saying I burned my sin journal a few years ago because I realized I was still holding on to it, and I was like, I need to get rid of this.
Yes,
Oh,
Yeah.
100%. Good for you.
Hmm. Hmm.
I remember being selective about what I put on my sin list because I
Mhm.
was like, I'm not telling all the things. Are you crazy? But
What?
I feel safe telling these things.
How did you? I mean, they hammered it in that you needed to be.
Oh,
Oh, wow.
Oh, Roy, our studies were cakewalks because they wanted us to be converted. They wanted us to be baptized. It was like a just get it done so that
Hmm.
we can dunk you, so that we can then like put you into a leadership position. It was not the like rigor. Even the second time
Hmm.
around, after I was quote unquote really rebellious and like hard to deal with, which I was not. But whatever, Lauren. But even that second time around, it really was like, let's just move because we want her to lead the campus ministry at the college that she's at. So let's move this through.
So was this because of your parents or because y'all were just sharp? And please, I know I said that word sharp. It's hard to, ugh, even as I say it.
Yeah, I think probably a little bit of both, but I don't know that it was that we were so sharp as much as we were savvy because we had
Mm.
made it through, like we lived it. So we knew
Hmm.
what they were looking for, what we needed to be, how to be stand out, how to be sold out, all of the buzzwords,
Hmm.
at least for me. And I think because each of my baptisms were really driven from like a self protection, like there was a secondary reason why I needed to be baptized. Um, that I knew how to play the role. And I think
Yeah.
they knew our parents. Our parents were somebody in one of your other podcasts said like church royalty. That was our parents. Like
Hmm.
they were well connected. They were, with Kip back in the day. They were converted by, the guy who wrote Upside Down. Like, I mean, they were just like they were in it.
Hmm.
And um I think they needed sharp, quote unquote, women leaders, and our last name fit that bill.
Yeah. Mine didn't.
You didn't have the clout that
I
came
yeah.
mean,
with
my
Count
all
your
of the
parents,
blessings, Roy.
sacrifice.
Count your
I
blessings.
know, I know. My parents were so connected though. I mean, they were part of the church they were in the Tallahassee church.
Okay.
So
Oh,
like
okay.
soon after the Gainesville church. And I don't mean that as a knock on my parents. My parents were cornerstone people for a lot of people in the church. And I mean that like people look to my parents a lot, but like with regards to like that next level up, like when you think royalty, um, they were, it just wasn't that. Um, but but yeah, so your thrust, so they were like, we need to get you guys baptized, we need to plug you into leadership, we need to do all of that. I mean, what did that feel like? Did you have words for that back then?
Oh, it was an honor,
Really?
right? Like, I
Hmm.
think there was so much pride, although we know that was a sin, but I
Hmm.
think there was pride to feel like God is calling you to this position and you can, you know, be of service to him. And
Yeah.
um and I think Sarah is a lot more savvy than I am. Let's just be honest. I mean, she's super smart. I think
Hmm.
not I think, I know there was a naivety with me that she does not, even to this day, possess. And I think some of that, similar to your other podcast guests, have talked about how there is some kind of like, well, I call it like a developmental delay. Like, I feel like there was a socialization, even though I was in a social circle of church people. Once I left, I still to this day at 50 something feel like there are times that I am a little bit delayed in my socialization because I was so sheltered for so long in the church. I didn't leave until I was 34.
Hmm.
And so the majority of my life was in that system, to use your word. And so I think there's a lot of stilted development for me. And Sarah just naturally had that gift more than I did. And I think so my leadership prowess was just because of my experience in the church, and I felt honored. Like, there was more of a genuineness and a naivety about what was happening for me, than I think Sarah, with her brilliance, she saw through it a lot more quickly than I did. And
Hmm.
because I was just in it. I mean, it was my full-time job, it was my marriage, it was everything. So I was all in, and she was the one who was smart enough to start to really question.
Hmm.
Oh, that was really nice. Thanks, Lauren.
Mic drop.
All
Yeah.
right, you can leave now. No.
Bye.
I feel the same way to like the developmental delay. I feel that. Um, I don't know if you've felt that, Sarah, as much as Lauren did.
I don't think so, because I think even I was always 1 foot in and 1 foot out because I
Hmm.
so desperately wanted to be accepted in any room I was in, truthfully.
Hmm.
So, like at school, I was not like sharing my faith at school. I was not doing the Christian thing at all in any of my schools or any of my friend groups. I was, how do I, maintain popularity in this space? So I will do whatever it takes to be that
Hmm.
chameleon here. And then at church, I will do whatever it takes to be that chameleon here. And so I just wore these two skins and did whatever I needed to do to try to maintain that. And I think a lot of therapy later, a lot of that I think is because I never felt like I was most important for my parents. And again, I'm not speaking out of turn. We have had a lot of conversations about this. And I
Hmm.
think there's some accountability and ownership that my mom in particular has really taken. And I appreciate that so much. Of just, she didn't know any different. And this is kind of what they were taught. And I believe that. I think if she had known different, she would have done different. I always knew I was loved, but I was never chosen.
Hmm.
Everything was the church first and then everything else last. So, they didn't come and watch me cheerlead because it was on a Sunday afternoon and they had to go back to church and do stats and like give their report out or, whatever. So they
Hmm.
didn't, I never was chosen. So I was always like, how do I feel chosen? So I feel like I got the developmental skills and how to like read the room pretty quick. Um, and this is going to sound horrible and prideful, which I was always being accused of. But I definitely, I didn't feel honored to be put in leadership. I felt it like it was my expectation. Like, why wouldn't I be put in
Hmm.
leadership? I'm legacy here. Like, of course I would be. And in fact, I would be upset when I felt like other people were chosen to do things that I should have been chosen to do because I was more legacy than they were. So how about that for yuck? That's some church yuck.
It is. I think the love of your parents and this. can't exist in the same thing. I
Yeah.
think I'm thinking about that when I think about my life. There's a lot. I knew my parents loved me. I knew there was caring, and then there's also all this other stuff. They both existed at the same time, and it's okay to talk about that. Um,
Well,
I
and I
dealt.
think they did those things because they
Mhm,
loved us and they thought it was benefiting us.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of
100.
course, 100%. I think the idea of being chosen was always on my mind. I wanted to be
Hmm.
chosen so bad. And I felt the same thing. You were like when you said, I should be chosen. I mean, I felt that sometimes. It's like my parents have been a part of the church for so long. Why am I not getting picked for this? Why is, so and so getting picked or this person getting picked? I know that Sarah, you said you went to one of the Hope Youth Corps, and I never got to do one of those. But that feeling, I just wanted to be chosen so bad. But
Yeah.
I did the same thing because, like, for my high school, there weren't people at my church that went to our church. So in a way, I got to exist in both environments. It's hard.
Yeah. But you're probably better off for it, to be honest. Like, think about the skill that you had to develop to be able to
Mm,
like sit normally in each of those spaces. I just think, uh, to Lauren's point, like I know how to read a room and then be who that room needs me to be, which in some ways is good, in some ways is like a little weird, but like
yeah.
we learn that. We learn how to like be
Hmm.
what is expected of us because we had to out of self-preservation, right? Like,
Hmm.
how do I keep everybody in this space happy? And that is something that I have had to unlearn a
Hmm.
lot.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. The word chameleon's been brought up a couple times here on this platform, and then other people that I've talked to that were part of the church. It's just once you learn the lingo, once you learn the culture, you learn how to exist in it. And I
Yep.
think one of my things, it came to, I was always trying to not share with my discipler things. And I was also trying to get out of dating. Those are two things when I was in college. Like those were the things I was really trying to. I hated dating in the church. It made me feel so weird, so uncomfortable, so many things. But then I also hated how much I had to talk to this person.
Yes.
And I would say just enough to make them think, okay, yeah, he's all right.
Yeah.
Or it just because you knew how to talk, how to word these things. And then I just made sure that I always had to work on Saturday at my job. And I couldn't not work in college.
Right.
So that's how I got out of dating a lot. But just
Good for
living, being
you.
the being that chameleon.
Good for you.
That makes me so tired for both of you just to feel like all the extra work that you guys had to do to like be people that you really weren't or
Yeah.
Hmm.
whatever. Like that just like as you both are talking, I'm just my shoulders are feeling so heavy because I'm like I'm tired for you too. Like thank goodness that stage is over because that's a lot to have to navigate.
Yeah, I called it the watered down Roy. That's what they got for all the time that I was a part of the
Mm,
church. It wasn't until the last couple of years when I was actually leaving that I really was just like, I'm just going to be myself because I'm tired of
mm,
feeling like I can't be me. But I was trying to be what I saw who was on top, you know? I wanted to
Yeah.
dress like them, talk like them, act like them, you know?
yeah,
I think we all did. If you were in leadership, you were probably you knew that there was a way that you had to be, right?
for sure.
Yes, even down to your fashion. Lauren,
Hmm.
how many times did your leader of your church make you go shopping so that she could pick out what you were going to wear?
Well, and I even had to get my hair cut.
Yep.
Remember that when I got that really short pixie cut that I hated, but she told me I needed to get my hair cut because I didn't look sharp enough.
Yes. You got to be sharp. Well, at least you didn't have to go to a medical weight loss program.
Oh yeah, talk about that.
Yeah. When I
Oh,
was
geez.
getting ready to lead a campus ministry, the
Hmm.
lead evangelist, male, and his wife sat me down together and told me that they wanted me to drop a few pounds so that the kids on campus would respect me and listen to me. and that I couldn't have the job of leading the campus ministry unless I lost weight. And so they had me call my parents in front of them and ask for $1,000 to do a medical weight loss program that I definitely did not need at that moment in my life.
Hmm.
But and my parents, who did not have $1,000 to give because everything went to the church, gave them $1,000. And I did this medical weight loss program where I ate protein bars every meal, every day for a couple of months so that I could have the job, which I probably was thwarting because on the weekends I was like at the bar and drinking beer. But, in front of everybody else, I'm just eating these protein bars so that I can keep my job that I
What
wasn't
audacity!
being paid for, by the way. Like, let's be clear about that.
You didn't get a stipend or anything like that?
Not for that campus. For other jobs, for sure, I did. I was
Hmm.
on the payroll for other jobs, but for that campus, the group wasn't big enough to justify paying
Hmm.
us. So only the male, only my counterpart, who was also a student, was being paid. And I, leading the women's ministry, was an intern, quote unquote. I was free labor, but had all of the same expectations.
I mean, I'm cringe. It's so cringy to use the words that the kids are using these days,
Yeah.
but the audacity of someone to tell you that, you know?
Yes, which in hindsight makes me laugh because it later came out that they were like both had drug issues and like was a whole thing. So I can laugh about it now, but at the time it was like such a blow to my really unstable self-identity anyways, because I was always being told, you don't have a quiet and gentle spirit. Yeah, like I think that started when I was 16 in Romania on a Hope Youth Corps trip. This woman in the church, who I will keep her name out of it, but it was like the high up, high up, high up, pulled me aside and told me that I didn't have a quiet and gentle spirit and nobody would ever want to date me if I didn't tamp down my personality.
Yeah,
That's
y'all,
that's fucked. Like what in the world?
it is fucked. Y'all needed to be quiet and gentle, and we, the men, needed to be strong, alpha,
Yeah.
Yeah. Because how would
bro
anybody ever lead us
leaders. Hmm.
if we
Yeah.
didn't tamp it down?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think at
Um,
that moment I was like, I don't want to be led. I can lead myself. I don't need to have a quiet and gentle spirit. But the
hmm.
idea that you'll always be alone unless you know, make yourself less was
Hmm.
really crazy.
Yeah.
The first thing that always comes to my mind, because people ask, they ask me like, why did you stay? Why did you stay? Why did you do these things? But I ask like, why do it if it's like this? What was the motivation? Because you have people telling you you need to look this way, you need to do this, which is terrible. And then you have like, get your hair cut, go buy clothes, you need to look like this, act like this. Like, why stay in leadership if it's making you feel this way? Any one of y'all? Sorry.
I think our
Uh,
answers are different. So you go
Yeah.
first on
Hmm.
it.
yes, I'm curious to hear your answer, Sarah. I think I honestly, I feel like there is and I can say this now looking back, I feel like there is a chipping away, a slow over time chipping away at your self-efficacy, at
Hmm.
your ability to think for yourself, make decisions, have the confidence, because you are told over and over and over that you are no good without God, that you are evil incarnate, that you know are sinful without Jesus, without. So I think what I realized for myself is when I started to kind of come to when I had my woke moment, if you will, I was
Hmm.
like, wait a minute, I am a smart, intelligent woman. Why am I letting these people boss me around like this? Where is my sense of self? Where is my sense of, so I think that's, I eventually, when I left the church, that was the realization that I came to. But I think it just is such a small little
Hmm.
what's the word, Sarah, like baby steps of that. um it starts with an I can't think of the word, but It just happens a little bit over time. Incremental. Thank you. Thank you. Incremental baby steps of just making you question who you are or doubt who you are or not even listen to who you are. So that I think I didn't feel like I even had any ability to say anything other than just follow and obey, because this is who you are. This is what you're supposed to do. It's out of obligation. It's your commitment to God. So I didn't even have the self confidence or the wherewithal to even think this is crazy and wrong.
Yeah.
So I just did it because I was naive and brainwashed.
Yeah.
Control. You were controlled. Trust and
Hmm.
obey. There's no other way. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Sarah, how
Um,
about you?
I think for me, it really was like self-preservation. If I
Hmm.
didn't stay in the church, I wouldn't have my family because I had been down that road when I was a teenager, when I quote unquote fell away, which I giggle about because I don't know that you can fall away from something that you're not fully in, but
Hmm.
um I it was always the topic. It was who's going to fix Sarah? How are we going to fix Sarah? Oh my God, Sarah. Sarah's holding back our parents from being named elders. Like it was always my fault and always like in the room. And
Hmm.
I think as a young adult in college, I just didn't want to go back to that place of like being the problem
Hmm.
again, as always. Um, and so it was self preservation. And I think if I'm honest, a little bit of pride too, because I was a leader and there was so much leader worship in the ICOC that there, it was a badge of honor. It was something that everybody aspired to. And
Hmm.
I wanted that acceptance. I wanted that kind of notoriety. I wanted to be in the room where the decisions were happening and be part of like the inner circle. And if I left, not only would I not be a leader, I wouldn't even be considered, right? I would have been like nobody talking to me at all. And
Hmm.
including my family. And so I think that was the reason I just like swallowed it and took it because it was just what you did to stay where you wanted to be.
Hmm.
Well, and one other thing I should have maybe mentioned that Sarah just made me remember is it was my job.
Yeah.
That was my livelihood. So full time for the church, leading a church, like yeah, I think that was part of it too, is I felt like, what would I do? I mean, this is all I've done. I mean, I have my
Hmm.
master's degree in social work, like we talked about earlier, but I hadn't worked in the field for a decade or so. So that also was part of my reservation in maybe even subconsciously to even let myself go there was
Hmm.
it was my that was my livelihood.
Yeah. Wow. So how long, not to go back to Sarah, but so Sarah, you left in high school,
Yes, because
right?
I wanted to have a boyfriend and I wanted to go to a school dance with a boy that didn't go to church with us.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm out. And it was actually our other sister and her husband. They had just gotten married.
Hmm.
They were leading the teen ministry. I say that with kind of hesitation because, again, I
Hmm.
don't think they were paid. It was like a free labor. And it was my brother-in-law who was like, you have fallen away. You're not really a Christian.
Hmm.
And it, I think a little bit had to do with some of the feelings that I had about him. And he did not like how I was challenging his leadership. And I think he would probably say the same. And he went to my parents and basically was like, Sarah's a fall away. She's like, we're done here because she doesn't want to come to teen events. She doesn't want to do the things that I'm asking her to do as her teen ministry leader. And she's out. And I was like, great, I'm out. See ya. On to
Bye,
my
Felicia.
life in the world. Like, have a good time. So yeah, but it was
Wow.
devastating for our family. I remember our other sister calling me and sobbing, like sobbing as if I had died on the phone and talking about how I was letting everybody down, but especially
Mm.
her because she was new and leading this teen group. And how does it look for her that I am falling away as her sister? And like, I'm ruining our friendship, and which is funny. It's a story for another day. But it was the thing. And it set in
Mhm.
motion all of this like heartache for my family of what are we going to do about Sarah? How are we going to fix Sarah? Now, what are we going to do with Sarah? And eventually they
Mhm.
did. They shipped me off to Lauren, to the saving grace of the family, to have her fix me in a really messed up way, like really messed up after high school. They sat me down and said, we're all moving to Michigan. So we're going to sell the house, quit our jobs. We're all moving to Michigan, which is where Lauren and her husband were leading a church. And they said, so that's where you're not going to go to college in Illinois, where you had already been accepted and you had already accepted. You're moving to Michigan and you're going to go to school in Michigan. And we're going to send you first so that you can start to establish residency there because, of course, we can't
Mhm.
afford to
Yeah.
pay for you to go to college because we've given all of our money to the church. So you're going to go there. And so I moved myself. I drove myself to Michigan and moved myself into my sister's condo with her brand new newborn. My nephew and I shared a bedroom for many months. And I lived on a futon. I had nothing, like literally nothing. I think my mom sent me and my other sister, who did not like me anymore because I was a fall away, to buy a bed and a bag. And then they moved me to Michigan. And then once I got there, maybe 2 weeks later, they called me and were like, just kidding. The rest of us are not moving. We're actually staying here. Good luck to you. No, like cell phones were pretty new, but I had had one. No cell phone, no communication with your high school friends, no, nothing. Complete cut off from everybody except for Lauren, her husband, and the Detroit church. That was it.
Wow.
Because I was
And
a problem. Which
yeah, and
let's
and we definitely
clarify.
inherited, all of that. And I mean, and now that I know, looking back, I wish I would have had so much more grace and all of those things.
Mm.
But we were like, oh my God, we're getting the hellion here, and we treated her like that. I mean, I don't feel like. I mean, I don't. I mean, maybe you felt welcomed by me, Sarah. I'm not really sure. Sorry about that, but I yeah, we definitely felt like, oof, we're getting the rotten
Yeah.
apple here.
Because, well, and no, I did not feel welcome, and that's okay. We've made our peace with that. We're very close now. But it was you're taking one for the team, and
Yeah.
really primarily your husband, because everybody felt like now your ex-husband was the only one who could talk to me. And I want to clarify, by hellion, it was that I wasn't going to church and I had a boyfriend in the world. I wasn't drinking, I wasn't doing drugs, I wasn't in trouble with the law. I got good grades, like
Right.
my only sin was that I wasn't in the church and that my boyfriend wasn't in the church,
Man.
to be clear.
But
But
so all three of so all the sisters were part of the church,
oh,
were baptized, like you were all, baptized in a part of it. So like it sounds shocking. Like if I take myself out of the equation and think like I'm not a part of this church, like hearing that would be like, well, that's crazy. But then as I'm listening to it and I'm like, yeah, that tracks. Yeah, that tracks. Yeah, that would track. I could see why they would be doing that. And like
Yeah.
it's like Lauren, I mean, so you're leading this church, you have a newborn, and then they're like, here, take your sister. I mean, you just accepted it. You were like, okay, I'm doing the Lord's work. That's what you were like
well,
feeling.
they
Yes.
paid you. Let's be clear. They were
Did
helping you pay
they?
your rent. Yeah,
Oh,
because you had to move into a bigger place so I could eventually have my own bedroom.
Oh, your parents sent you
nice.
money.
I
Uh,
don't even remember
Wow.
Not
that.
me. Let's be clear. I got
No, I
zero.
meant to
Yeah.
Lauren. Yeah, they sent,
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't even remember that, but I'm sure my ex does because he is all about the money. But yeah. So no, I mean, I think I felt a responsibility to fix her,
Hmm.
like she said. And I was grateful to my husband at the time because we did feel like he had the magic touch with Sarah and he could get her in her right mind. So I think I did feel again, here I go with that being honored, like it was my obligation
Hmm.
to get her on the right path. And I was pretty confident that between he and I, we could do it. Mostly him.
Hmm.
Also, I was free childcare. Let's be clear about that too.
Well, and let's just for the record show that you and my firstborn have a very special relationship because you were up at night
Yes,
with him.
I would do it all over again, but I was definitely the one up in the middle of the night changing that kid's diapers and feeding him and
Uh-huh.
being like, Lauren, wake up, your kid is crying. What is it?
Oh, geez. So,
Yeah.
No need for a baby monitor. We had Aunt Sarah, so it was
Yeah.
fine.
um, wow. I mean, this is the first time I've heard like a story, and I'm just like, wow, that's wild. Um, to be shipped off. Um, so then what made you decide to go back? Because
We
like
fixed
why
her. We fixed
you
her, Roy.
did
Come on.
yeah, y'all fixed her. Y'all did the Lord's work.
Thank
Yeah.
goodness for the Sarah Whisperers. I had to because I didn't have anybody.
Got
And
it.
I had
Hmm.
no social network. I had no, even the job that I had was given to me by somebody who worked in the church. So I was
Hmm.
working at like a hospital outpatient office. And I got that job because of one of Lauren's friends in the church. And so I was like, everywhere I turned, my only people were people in the church. And there was
Hmm.
a tremendous amount of pressure living with the evangelist and women's ministry leader that, like, I better get my act together
Hmm.
or there is going to be some like serious hell to pay. And it was just like a constant barrage of like, when are you going to study? When are you going to study? When are you going to study? Um, and so again, out of self-preservation, I needed connection. I needed friends. I needed some freedom. And I was not going to have that freedom until I like got in line, so to speak.
Hmm.
So, and again, I studied the Bible in 2 weeks and was maybe 2 months after that leading a campus ministry.
Wow. That's that's a quick turnaround.
Yes. Yes.
Because we knew all the potential that she had, and we were like, we gotta tap into this, capitalize on it.
So were you
Yeah.
like, Lauren, were you knocking on her door on Sunday morning being like, get up, you got to go to church. We're all leaving.
I don't think she had a choice. I think that
Yeah.
was, and
There was
again, all
no
of this
choice.
was by design, right? So, I mean, mom and
Hmm.
dad shipped her to us by design because I mean, my whole being was church. And so
Hmm.
she didn't have a choice. I don't even think it was ever an
No, there
option,
were
Sarah.
house rules. The house
Yeah.
rule was you're going to have a D time every day. You're going to go to church every Sunday and Wednesday. You're going to like follow all of our expectations, which are the expectations you've always grown up with. And
Hmm.
you're going to like get your life together. And also
Yeah.
somewhere in there, like go to school and be a good student and, make your own money to pay for all of your own things because you're completely cut off. Um, but those were less. It was always like, did you
Hmm.
have your D time today? I didn't see you with
Quiet
your
time. Your
Bible.
quiet
Or your
time.
quiet time. Did you have your quiet time today? I didn't see you with your Bible.
I think I even did quiet times with you.
Of course.
And probably my
Yes.
spouse did too. Yeah.
Yes. And like special 3-point lessons written just for me.
The
Don't forget the
3-point
three
sermons.
point sermons. Always the opens, the
Always three
3 points,
points.
and the close.
Do you guys find it hard to read your Bible in the morning if you ever do? Whenever I think about quiet times or doing anything, like
Yeah.
anything in the morning, it always it's weird. Like I have to like pause for a second and be like, no, I'm not in that anymore. Like I still feel like I need to be doing something, not even I'm not not even like Bible reading, or there has to be something in the morning that I do.
Hmm.
Like, do
Hmm.
you
I
guys
don't
feel that?
I know. I
Oh,
didn't
okay.
want to do
Good
it
for
then, and I don't want to do it now.
good for
I
y'all.
just, I cannot. It's so triggering. Everything related to anything close to what the church
Hmm.
did is so triggering that I have like a actual visceral
Hmm.
reaction to it. So yeah, I
Say the only thing for me is when times are tough, and also because of the stage of life that I'm in, I'm up in the middle of the night a lot, having a hard time going to sleep. And so I will do church songs. And my kids jokingly, because my son was in the ICOC for a hot minute, my daughter never. And and so my kids tease me about Jesus music, but they know
Hmm.
like that does bring me a little bit of solace or calm is when things are pretty intense for me.
Hmm.
I will play like classical Christian hymns, like the good old stuff, not the ICOC necessarily, but more mainline Church of Christ
Hmm.
songs. Um, so
I
and
was going to say, you don't listen to ICOC songs. You listen to old school,
right,
like mainstream
yeah,
Christian Church of Christ songs.
yeah,
Hmm.
And same, if I'm going to connect to God, it's usually through music and it's never an ICOC song. It is always like the old, like standbys.
yeah.
Yeah. I love those too. It's hard to listen to a lot of like our songs and also like contemporary Christian songs. I don't know if y'all have ever done this, but do y'all remember Robert Duncan and the Radicals?
No.
Oh my gosh. They were a band out of LA, I believe. They were all ICOC members, and it was a rock band, and they had a song called Radical Love.
Hmm.
That was their hit for this. They also had a song called The North Corner of Glory. So,
Oh,
but if you go on YouTube and look for Robert Duncan
I'm
and the
writing it down
Radicals,
right now.
yeah, Robert Duncan and the Radicals and Radical Love, because there's a music video for it. And it is bananas. They compare the ICOC movement to the America, the founding fathers in 1776.
oh
There's,
my.
yeah, they came to Atlanta a number of times. I remember one of our conferences, Robert Duncan and the Radicals did a concert. Um, anyway, that's a side note. That's for later. Uh,
Yeah.
it'll be cringy and
Our
wild.
homework.
Yeah. Lauren, how long were you like leading a church?
All of a sudden, I just got sick in my stomach.
Sorry. Sorry.
First, before I answer, can I just preface? I'm sorry to
Yeah.
everybody out there who I have hurt.
Hmm.
I carry so much guilt, so much guilt. So we moved to Michigan in 96, and we were the white couple to come and help lead the white region. Everybody else was African American. Well, that's not true. There was one other couple that was she was white, he was not. They were the campus ministry lead. So we oversaw the largest region in the church. And then eventually those church leaders got promoted and moved someplace. I can't even remember now. And so we
Hmm.
took over leading the church. And then I think, and if I remember, I can't really, I should have called my ex to clarify timeline, but I think the Henry Crete letters maybe came out and then they were demoted and came back here and demoted us, the lead couple. Um, and then that was where things fell apart.
Hmm.
Um, so so really I would say between like 96 and I don't know, so maybe 5 or 6 years, and
Hmm.
that we were full time leading a large region and or the whole church here in Michigan.
And so you mentioned how it was like did you feel like it was your voice leading or was it like the church's voice leading?
Oh, well, a little bit of both. I think I was much more party line than my ex. I do want to
Hmm.
give credit where credit is due. That was actually part of some discord between us was he was starting to kind of push a little bit and I was panicked.
Hmm.
Like you got to stay on the party line. You got to stay on the party line or we're going to get fired. And
Mm-hmm.
he was questioning and pushing and trying to, once he was in charge of the church, he really was trying to do the right thing. I think he, we had gone through Doug Jacoby's ministry. Well, I think
Fine.
that's okay. Ministry class
Mm-hmm.
and learned a
In
lot.
Jerusalem. Yeah.
Yeah, we went to Jerusalem with him, with other ministry leaders. Actually, it was a life-changing experience for me in a very
Mm-hmm.
good, positive way. And I think that helped my ex to really start to think outside the box, which was what we all needed. Little did we know. And so
Mm-hmm.
I think I saw him starting to like push a little bit and I panicked. And so I have regret about that too. I wish I would have trusted and sat quietly and let him move things along instead of being that nagging behind the scenes shrew. Because I do think
Mm-hmm.
his intentions and his direction were and his faith was in the right place. But then he got demoted. And so he was heartbroken about that because he felt like, oh good, I finally get to call the shots and I want to do this the right way. And he was not allowed, it was thwarted.
And he was demoted after the letter.
It's all fuzzy to me. I should have checked with him, but it's all
Mm-hmm.
kind of around that time where things got really messy.
And and do you think the shift happening like so like you wanted to be a leader. This was a part of it. You liked what you were doing. Do you think when you mentioned this was what I was paid to do, I didn't want to lose that? Was that kind of like the shift for you?
Yeah, well, so the Henry Crete letter was kind of the shift for me. I had already started to feel like, and I was driving to a Bible study. I was going to go
Mm-hmm.
try to convert somebody. We had our, campaign month trying to get those baptisms in. And I remember driving to this Bible study and just having this feeling in my gut, like it was deep in my soul, Roy. Like it was so deep that I was like, I cannot do this anymore. I cannot do this. This does not feel right. I am exhausted. I have two small kids. Like it just was not working for me. And
Mm-hmm.
almost, I mean, it feels immediate. I'm sure there was time lapse for there, but almost immediately in my memory, the Henry Crete letters came out. And I was like, oh my
Mm-hmm.
gosh. So simultaneously, I felt excited, like there's some freedom and some truth being spoken, and maybe things can change. And also a lot of fear, like, oops, we're being called out and we're
Mm-hmm.
being found out. So there was like this dichotomy going on with me where I was relieved and scared at the same time. And after those letters, we went around to every group in the church and let everybody say all of their um, beef and sat and
Mm-hmm.
took it and carried it and apologized. But yet, then we never had an opportunity to go to our leaders to say, you did this to us, like you made us do these things and you put us in
Mm-hmm.
these positions. And so it just unraveled. And I was like, I cannot do this. And I lost a lot amount of weight. I had a suicidal ideation. And that was when I was like, I got to get out of here. I have two small kids. I want to take my life. Like, I am
Mm-hmm.
not at a good place. I'm quitting.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went to my spouse at the time and I was like, I'm out and I really need you to come out with me. And so he graciously, well, I don't know, gracious, he was pretty upset about it, but he agreed and we quit.
Mm-hmm.
The ministry, not the church.
Yeah,
Thank you. We quit the ministry. We still went to the church for a few months and that was yucky.
I bet. I mean, I know that, and 'cause Sarah, you led too, correct? You led a campus ministry, and
I did.
yeah,
Yes. A couple of them.
okay. Oh, you led a couple of campus ministries. I'm wondering, we felt pressure as members to live up to y'all's expectations of leadership. I just put y'all in because y'all were leaders. I'm not saying specifically, but what was the pressure like for y'all as leaders? Because y'all
Oh,
probably felt it. Was it, or do you think it was, I don't want, we shouldn't compare, but y'all felt the pressure as well?
Yeah, I think for me, especially in the college years, leading those campus ministries, and
Hmm.
especially I think in the Detroit church, because my sister and brother-in-law were like in that upper echelon too. And for what maybe it was all of the churches, but I really feel like in the Detroit church more than Chicago, the leader worship was bananas. I mean, like
Hmm.
the leader of the Detroit church would be like escorted out with security at the end of his message, like through this school with literal security with like earpieces, like he was like Secret Service. It was wild. And the expectations from those leaders of you do whatever we ask you to do, including like call into your secular job that's actually paying your bills and call out so that you can come to my house and give me a pedicure, which was my side hustle. Like, and I did it. And I felt like, well, thank goodness she picked me. Like, it's such an
Hmm.
honor. Why would I never? Because that was how it was. So, like, the pressure was to make sure that they were happy with your performance, and everything was stats. It was your metrics. We would be called Sunday afternoon after church into a meeting in their home to report out how many people did you share your faith? How many studies in your campus? How many baptisms are you predicting for this month? Set a goal and, like, are you going to meet that goal? What's your likelihood of meeting
Hmm.
that goal? None of it was about who are the people? What are they about? Like, are they in it? It was just about numbers. And I think for me, that's when I was like, this is really different even than I remember from a few years ago. Like, this is a business
Hmm.
and this is not church. And it's really not about God. This is about a business. This is my first experience working in a corporate like setting of report out your, key performance indicators, right? And like
Hmm.
make sure that you're going to meet your goals. And if you don't, you might lose your job. So it really, yeah, it was it was a lot of pressure of like, and I think Lauren says she carries a lot of guilt. I do too. Mine is a little different in that she really believed and I did not. And I was still complicit. Like that is the word that comes to my mind is like, I knew it was messed up. I knew it was not right. Like I had all of these misgivings always, like always. And I still studied the Bible with people, still forced them to be baptized. And really, I do feel like it was forced. I coerced them into being ready to be baptized. I still told people this was the only way, they were going to hell, all of that stuff, so that I could meet my numbers. And that's the guilt I feel. Like, how many people, especially because it was campus, like young people, this is their first time for most of them making a decision on their own about religion and faith without the influence of their parents. And here I am telling them this like garbage. And I knew it was garbage and I did it anyways. And I feel the worst about that because
Hmm.
maybe now they too are triggered and they can't have a relationship with a God that they wish that they could. And I feel like that's my fault.
Hmm.
Um, that I feel that, Sarah. So thank you for sharing. I feel like the pressure for us as church leaders, I can't even, like I told you, my stomach hurts just thinking about it. It was what Sarah said times 10,
Hmm.
because we had her plus other leaders that we had to get reports from, and we had to motivate them to motivate their people. It just that hierarchy. The story that I wanted to share, Roy, knowing that we were coming here, that I think really illustrates the pressure was, we would do, I'm sure your church did this too, of campaign months. So
Hmm.
like March, October, maybe there was another one in there somewhere. And so March was a campaign month, which meant that we had to try to get as many conversions as possible in that month. That there was a huge push, and everybody had a calendar, and you had to do the things on the calendar, like reach out to 5 people here, call these people here, ask a coworker here, whatever the things were, the activities for the month, to really try to have that evangelism mentality. So I wanted to get pregnant with my first child, and I was told that I couldn't get pregnant until August, because then that meant that I would have the child in April, which was after a campaign month. So if I got pregnant before August, I would mess up our March campaign month. And as luck would have it, I got pregnant in July. And
Hmm.
I remember sitting in the bathroom at church with the other ministry leaders' wives in hysterics, sobbing, and shaking because I didn't want to tell the church leader that I was pregnant, that I had
Hmm.
disobeyed her direction about when I could get pregnant. Like that's the level of pressure that I felt to be godly or whatever, to that I could not, that I had to control my pregnancy. And so eventually we prayed and they gave me the courage to tell her the truth. And she handled it better than I expected, but it was not great. And so I think, when I tell my friends who were not part of this experience, they're
Hmm.
like blown away. Like, you cannot, how do you control that? I mean, I guess you kind of can control, but
Hmm.
um yeah, for her to have that level of control over my life to that degree, and then for me to have that visceral reaction because I didn't follow her rules, um to me that is so resonant of just how crazy things really were.
Yeah. It's, I think for one, when I look back when I listen to stories like that, I mean, I can 100% see why you would think and act the way that you did in the system,
Right.
especially if, especially for us who were born into it, like our entire life has been centered around something like this, that we were indoctrinated and brainwashed, and it just we were it's like our brains were wired differently. I mean,
Yeah.
this is I mean, with y'all's work in therapy, I worked with kids for a number of years teaching. Like, you
Mm,
see what these things, how it rewires
yeah.
our brains. And I think it's like, it's just interesting how, like, I was listening to your story and I was like, oh, yeah, it's easy. The reason why she felt this way. And, but it's still, I don't think, I'm not saying it's easy and like it's not a terrible thing because it's
Oh,
terrible.
no,
You
but
know
you
what I
get it.
mean?
Yeah.
I get it. It's what we were to. It's what we're into. But it's like our faith, our livelihoods, our community, our family, all of it was tied to this. So like you don't follow, then you're losing everything, you know?
Yep. And yet
Eh,
here we are. We did it.
yeah,
Right.
you did
Without
it.
But we
losing
gained,
everything. Yeah.
yeah, and we
Yeah.
gained so much. I mean, yeah, and I did lose a lot, but I've gained so much more.
Hmm. I think it's important to, I think it's important for all of us, leaders or not, to understand the parts that we played in this because we were all complicit. I mean, I knew it's like there's this thing in the back of your, I felt this thing that was in the back of my mind, like this isn't right. Like when there would be people that would fall away and I would just cut ties with them. And I was like, this is weird. I don't understand why I'm doing this, but I still did it. I still
Right.
towed the line, you know?
Which was kind of opposite of what we were taught
Hmm.
that Jesus was or God was, right? And like,
Yeah.
but that was still the expectation was that they're
Hmm.
in the world now. So they're dead to you.
Hmm. Yep. Yeah. It's how they controlled us. That's how they got us. So what made y'all finally just, I gotta go. I gotta be out of this.
I think for me, it really was. I mean, I had just gotten married. I was so young, 23. He
Hmm.
was, I mean, just had turned 24. We had both just graduated undergraduate. Craziness. And I had, to be clear, made him join the church so that we could actually date, so that we could actually get married. Um, so I also did not want to date in the church like you, Roy. I was like, no, I'm not interested in this. But We were getting ready to move to Chicago because I had gotten a
Hmm.
job in Chicago.
Hmm.
And so we were getting ready to leave Michigan. And I think it was around the time of those Henry Crete letters. And my family's, like the church's hold on my family, I think was starting to come unraveled. And I was like, this is it. This is my chance to step away without losing my family. And I'm moving to another place where I don't know the people and I don't know the church. And the expectation is not going to be for me to instantly like step back into that place. Um, and so when we moved back to Chicago, I told my then husband, like, we're out, we're not going. And he really was not happy about that because I think he had really like embraced the church. And even after our divorce, he found a church very much like the ICOC and stayed kind of
Hmm.
in that realm. Um, but I was like, I can't do another minute of this. I just don't believe in it. And it's not the life that I want to have. And so making that move and then seeing my sister step down, my parents stop going to the church, was really like, this is my moment. And so I just kind of stepped back from it and
Hmm.
never again heard from any of my college, campus, church friends, like not one word.
Yeah.
I knew that. That's intense.
Yeah. Even though
Yeah.
I had like been in their weddings and we were like best
Yeah.
friends and all of the
Yeah.
things,
Yeah.
not a word. They unfriended me
Huh.
on Facebook, which was like a new, or
Hmm.
MySpace, actually, let's be clear. It was like a MySpace time before
Oh,
Facebook.
MySpace.
I know it. But yeah, I mean, they really like cut ties.
Wow.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean
I mean,
that tracks. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
yeah, I
Sorry,
Of
kind of
course
Lauren.
it does.
shared.
That's what
Oh,
I taught
sorry.
them to do,
Hmm.
to be
Yep.
honest.
How about you, Lauren? So as you said, when you left, you stepped down as a leader, but you were still a part of the church. So when did you finally just, I gotta go?
So we would sit in the back. So we would still go. We'd sit in the back, and it just got awkward. And people were kind to us. That feels like too strong of a word. Civil, maybe they were civil to us. Some people would acknowledge, some people not. I think it was just awkward for the new leaders to have the old leaders in the back while they were trying to like change and figure out all of the repercussions from the Henry Crete letter. And I remember somebody coming up to me saying, "Oh, so sister so and so and I were just having dinner last night, and she told me you're really struggling spiritually." And it was somebody I had discipled before. And I was like, you do not have my permission to talk about me behind my back. And I walked down the aisle of the church and went to the other woman and I called her out in the middle of service and I took her in the hall and I said that very same thing, like, so and so, sister so and so just said you two were talking about me last night. And here's what she said. And please be clear, you do not have my permission to talk about me behind my back. And if you think I'm struggling spiritually, you come to me. And that was it. I was like, I cannot do this anymore. I cannot be in this judgy. I just cannot do this. So we took a few couples, another one of the couples from the ministry who had stepped out, and some other couples that we had discipled, and we started our own little house church, and we rotated people's houses, and we rotated who would do the sermon, and somebody would watch all the kids together as a like, Kingdom Kids light.
Hmm.
And we tried to do our own thing for probably 6 months, maybe. I don't know. And then that just started to kind of dissipate. People found their own churches. It just felt easier for them to do their own thing. And I think we were just tired. So, so, so tired.
Hmm.
And yeah, so that was it. And I did have somebody from the church come to my house. Sarah will remember this. And she and I were very, very close friends. And she came to my house after we'd left and she's like, I just wanted to check in and see how things are going with you. And I had my quiet time on you this morning. And here's the message that God heart to tell you about where you are right now and what you need to do to repent. And I just thought, you had your quiet time about me? Like, no. And that was the last time I talked to her. I was like, done. So I think it just the scale started to lift. And like I jokingly just said, I kind of like woke up, like, what am I doing here? And 2 years of therapy later, was in a much, much better place.
Hmm.
So,
Wow. What was it like when you left? I mean, your entire family was a part of this. So, what was it like after you cut ties with the church? One of y'all,
for
whoever goes first.
Yeah, probably more for you, Lauren, than for me. I don't think anybody in my family was all that surprised, to be honest. I think I think to an extent there was a little bit of a reckoning of like, you were maybe right all along with like all of your criticisms and
Hmm.
the backlash. I think it was many years later for us to where we were really able to sit down and be honest about the repercussions of being in the church and kind of the impacts on each of us individually. That came many years later. But I don't think anybody in my family was all that surprised. And there was zero pressure to do anything different. When we moved to Chicago, it was not like my family or my parents who still lived in Illinois because, they never moved to Michigan,
Mm.
were like, they weren't like, you should be going to church either, because they also were like, I think we're out here. So it was kind of just like, I don't feel like we talked about it that much. I think we were just
Hmm.
like, and seen. So that for me, but maybe you, Lauren, had a different.
yeah, I mean, I think it was because we kind of did it gradually. We
Hmm.
stepped out of the ministry, still went to church for a little bit, then gradually left there. I think it wasn't as shocking to the system, just to lose. But I think honestly, Roy, what it showed me was the insincerity of the relationships,
Yeah.
that we
Hmm.
were all faking it to make it because people were friends with me because of my position and not because of me. And I think that was kind of heartbreaking to realize that there was just a lack of genuine authenticity.
Hmm.
But the people who were my real friends are still my friends, and they also left. And so, yeah, and I think Sarah's right. I don't know if I gave her enough credit immediately to be like, oh my God, girl, you were right all along. But I think I came to that place where I was like, oh, she she noticed something. And so yeah, I think we had to immediately find jobs and
Hmm.
try to figure out what our next stage was going to be, because we had this house that the ministry was paying for that we now had to pay for, and we didn't have any retirement because the ministry did not invest in retirement for us. And so we had to figure out jobs and get benefits and figure things out for the kids. And I was actually really okay to be insular because I had led such a fishbowl life for so long where everybody knew all my everything, that since I've left, I have become very selective in my relationships. I'm very careful about who I even let into my home
Hmm.
because my ministry house was open door policy. Like people were in and out all the time, whatever time of day. So now here at my place now, I am very selective about who I let in my space, um, and just having that small nuclear circle of safe relationships.
Hmm. So, what was probably the hardest thing to let go of as y'all left the church?
Guilt
Yeah.
and the sense of obligation.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know that I feel like I've let go of that guilt, to be honest. Like,
Yeah.
I think
Hmm.
it still very definitely sits with me.
Hmm.
Um, I think the hardest thing for me was that like identity. Like,
Hmm.
Mm,
okay, now that I am not in that church and I'm not wearing that skin, what is my skin? Like,
mhm.
who am I actually?
Yeah.
Um, and it took me a minute to kind of figure out who I wanted to be and what am I when I'm not, tamping down my personality to be quiet and gentle, right? Like what do I actually believe? about myself, like who
Hmm.
do I want to be, and can I cultivate that without all of that extra influence? Um, and it took me a minute. It for sure took me a minute.
That's a good
Yeah.
point, Sarah. I think that was part of the dissolution of my marriage was because I wasn't the submissive, quiet wife that he knew me to be. And I started to find my voice and I started to figure out I have needs and I have wants and I want to, and I have a voice and I have conviction about things and opinions and I can't just sit quietly anymore. I think who he married was such a different person and I was starting to evolve. And although we are still friends and we still respect each other and love each other for the 25 years we were together and the family that we created, I think who I became once I didn't have those shackles um, was somebody he didn't want to be with. And that was okay because I had gotten to the place where I felt so good about who I was becoming that I was okay to forge my own path on my own with that newfound freedom. And
Hmm.
that was the thing that I always said was like, I just want to be happy and I want to be free. And I think, for me leaving that gave me that freedom that I relish now. I relish
Hmm.
it to not have to like talk to somebody in line at the grocery store and invite them to church or fake a conversation with somebody at the movies or at the mall. Well, nobody goes to the mall anymore, but whatever the things are, to just make friends because I want to make friends and there's no ulterior motive.
Yeah. Well, and
Um,
to not have friends if they're not actually friends, like it's, yeah, all of that freedom.
Yeah. It's interesting. We were given an identity, in a lot of ways. And it was tough for me too, even though I kind of knew what I wanted to be and who I was, to feel like I could be that person was hard. I think the biggest thing I've was hard for me to let go of was the sense that I could come first.
Yeah.
I think for so long I was trained to be second in everything,
yeah,
and that was something that, we've talked about the servant aspect and, everyone gets all of you. Everyone has access to you and you need to give to everybody else. And then if there's anything left, then you can have that. That's just kind of how it was. And I felt that was like a holy thing. So allowing myself to just give to me, to be me, you know?
yeah,
So
I hear that.
where did y'all land with God or church or any of that?
Lauren?
I would say it's so funny because somebody who I was in the ministry with in Chicago, she and I just had a conversation about a month ago, and she is wrestling with like her view of Jesus. And it was funny because as we had that conversation, I was like, oh, I don't really think about him so much anymore. I was like, to me, it really is just about God.
Hmm.
And so I think God has become much more gracious and loving and generous and understanding than I have ever felt him. And I have my own personal, like just us. I don't go to church because it is too triggering for me. And I cannot hear sermons. I not even really sure how to interpret scripture in the Bible. My partner and I were just talking about that last week because his nephew was baptized in a church. And I was like, oh, this brought up all the things for me. And so we had this long, huge conversation. And my partner grew up Catholic. And so he was like, let's talk about it. Like, tell me. And so I was like, I think I have a Bible around here somewhere. And so we were like reading through it and I was just like, oh, this feels so weird. So it was Dad's Bible, actually, Sarah. And which, yeah, so we don't want to talk about that or we'll cry. But I think
Okay.
yeah, so I think for me it is just much more personal. And as I live my life, taking it with me, it is not something that I just do on a Sunday or a Wednesday. And it is yeah, I feel like it's what I have is working for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
I don't know. I feel like when people ask me about God or church, I always say, God and I have an understanding. Like, I give a lot of years and a lot of things, and he gets it. And so, and yeah, and I don't know why it's a he. I don't really I definitely don't go to church for all of the same reasons that Lauren said. It's so triggering. I can't even get into like a worshipful frame of mind because I'm so mistrustful of like what is the underlying intention of this message
Mm-hmm.
or what they're trying to share with us. Don't pass me a collection plate. Like, I don't want to hear any of your special missions, raising money kind of things. So for me, I feel like I really just feel like there is a higher power. I don't know what it is, but whatever it is unending love, unending grace, is
Mm-hmm.
cool with everybody, is cool with, all of the choices that people make in their intentions to be a good person, and allows for difference and allows for people to be who they are and is good with that. And I think that's kind of what I lean on. I don't even feel like I pray so much anymore because that even feels disingenuine to me because I feel like we were always taught like you don't pray just when you need something, you pray all the time. And I don't pray all the time. So I don't even find myself praying when I feel like I'm in need. I think I'm
Mm-hmm.
just reflective of I am not in control of every aspect of this world, and that's okay. And I think that there is something that is in control of it, and I'm just going to give it to whatever that thing is. And I just kind of leave it there.
Yeah. Both of those are rad and beautiful ways to look and to see and to be.
Yeah.
Um, so if you could tell someone that's that you wish someone had told you back when you were thinking about leaving, or what you've learned through this process as you guys have left and grown and where you are now, what would you say to them?
I think I would say that you should trust your gut, and it's okay to have
Mhm.
questions. And I really wish that I had understood the concept of like gaslighting, which I
Hmm.
feel like is such a fashionable term in this moment, but I think it really was that kind of brainwashing control stuff that made you think you were crazy if you had
Yeah,
questions.
we were
Um,
gaslit. It's okay to say that. Like, we
yeah,
have a word for it now, so now we can,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so I think I just would say it's okay for you to have questions. And if there is a church or a religion or even a friendship that is trying to convince you that it's not okay to ask questions, there is a reason why. And
Hmm.
that should be a red flag to you, and that's okay. It's
Yeah.
okay to have those concerns. Um, and you do what feels right for you. A gracious God would allow for that.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. Ditto. Yeah, and I also think, the only other thing I would add is that God is not as judgy as we think he is.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And one of the things that I appreciate about our mom is that she has said, God's a big boy and he can handle it. Because there are times that I'm like, oh, God's going to be upset this. And she's like, he's a big boy. He can handle it. And so that's helped me at times to just not be so worried about, is God going to be mad or whatever. And so I think that would be the only thing is just, he's a lot more unconditional in his love than
Hmm.
we thought him to be.
Yeah, I
And
like it.
also too, I don't know why I say him either. It's in our DNA.
Yeah.
It's such a weird thing I think about that all the time. Why do we keep saying he and father? And it's not even
Yeah.
because of the time that we're living in right now. I just have always thought about that, you know?
Yeah.
It's interesting. Well, I don't know, y'all. What do you think? We were in a cult?
Yeah.
Undoubtedly.
Yeah.
What do you think, Roy?
Huh.
Let's take a poll. Raise your hand.
Right.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah, I do.
definitely.
Yeah. Cool. Well, any last things y'all want to say?
I think again, real sorry, everybody,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
ourselves. I think
Yeah.
Hmm.
sorry to ourselves because there was a lot of damage done there, but mostly sorry to all of the other folks, right, who
Hmm.
didn't know, and we should have acted differently.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
thank
And I'm
you.
sorry, Sarah, that
Oh,
I didn't welcome you when you came to my house
Yeah.
and that
Thanks for being a
I didn't
jerk.
listen to you. Yes.
And yeah, thanks for being a big
Yeah.
jerk. Good thing I
Yeah.
still love you because I am
Yeah.
gracious.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Exactly. You're just like God.
well,
Yes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I have to say, Roy, I appreciate that you're doing this. I think I said to Sarah, like all this stuff, I had felt like it was bringing up stuff for me that I was like, oh, I hope this is okay for me to resurrect some of these things. But I think it is cathartic to just know that we aren't alone and that other people have had similar experiences and everybody becomes a social worker afterwards.
So you have that to look forward to. Anybody who's
Right.
listening and considering leaving, you get to
Yes.
also be a therapist.
Yes, please
yeah.
go into social work. But I think I appreciate your courage to
Hmm.
do all of the unpacking and the way that you relate to us. And so thank you for just providing a safe space to talk about talk about it.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. I mean, y'all do more heavy lifting than I do. I just provide the space. Y'all do all the
No, but you're
talking.
sitting with all of it.
Yeah.
Like you're sitting in
Hmm.
the
Yeah.
trauma of it every
Yeah.
single time. So thank you for
Hmm.
doing that. I
Yeah.
give a hearty amen to what Lauren said.
I
Amen.
appreciate that.
Amen,
I
brother.
Oh my gosh, it helps me more than I mean, it helps me because I don't feel alone and I don't feel
Yeah.
crazy and I want people to not feel crazy as well. So, yeah, but thank you all for being a part of this, for adding your stories to this conversation and I know it's going to do a lot of good. So, right
Thank
on.
you.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thanks again for listening to another episode of the Clemens with a Z podcast. If you are a member, were a member, or know someone who was a member of the ICOC or the ICC and would like to share your story about life in and out of the church, I'd love to hear from you. Or if you just want to connect as well, still love to hear from you. Together, we can continue exploring the question, we were in a cult? And perhaps maybe find some healing along the way. You can reach me via email at clemenswithaz@gmail.com or just send me a DM on Instagram at the Clemens with a Z podcast page. If you want to support the podcast, the easiest and simplest way you can do that is by subscribing, rating, liking, and leaving a review wherever you listen to podcasts. You can share it with a friend, post it on your socials, drop it in a group chat. It all helps more than you know. You can also support the podcast financially by heading over to clemenswithaz.com. There's a merch store with shirts, stickers, all kinds of stuff. You can donate directly through the GoFundMe. The link's in the show notes. Every little bit goes a long way in helping me keep these conversations going. If you're also looking for something different, maybe you're a reader rather than a listener, you can head over to my Substack, Devotions for the Disillusioned and the Deconstructing. That's where I share short reflections, devotionals, and just extra stuff that doesn't always make it onto the podcast. This podcast, this whole thing keeps going because of listeners like you showing up, engaging, and passing it on. So thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. And thanks for being part of this messy middle with me. So until next time, take care of yourselves, take care of each other. Peace.